I'm not sure how good this sound's going to be. It started raining. I guess it's just one of those days, you know?
It's not
Call
too
my
bad.
bank after this just to make it like the worst day ever. The joke is I actually do have to call my bank on a separate issue.
Oh, ooh, man. So I just put out into the universe what I really wanted to happen. And I mean, in the process of like just I don't care how it happens, when it happens, like I guess I'm just gonna let it go without pushing it. But like part of me is like, yeah, I really want this. Like I wanna funnel everything I'm doing in that direction at least. So
I heard everything you said except what is it that you really want to do and you want to funnel all the energy in that direction?
oh, I didn't say what it was. I just said like
Oh, okay.
I posted that on somebody in response to somebody's question. So like I guess I'm putting it out into the universe. I was like, this is what I want.
Okay. I mean, you're allowed to keep your secrets if you want.
Well, what I was gonna say is the so he asked, what did he ask? He said, what's the most random thing you want to do ever? And the he said no wrong answers. So what I wrote was I wanted to create a book club, a book reading club membership out of a young adult fiction series I'm reading with other creatives who want to produce an audio drama version of it, grow it into a fan base that co-creates the series and marketing as part of the fun of being in the club, and then spin it up into like a TV series or a blockbuster movie property. Decentralized, new Hollywood, community-based content creation.
Sounds pretty
So
awesome.
yeah, so like I think that is the dream job, but it's sort of like if I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, or if I'm doing it like trying to, you know, press the gas instead of letting it happen just because of like the person that I really am, or instead, I don't know. But like I think that's the feeling of like my dream life.
Okay.
Um, that's the, yeah, that's what it is.
I'm in my locker taking out my bag, and three things, okay, well, not four, but three things fell out of my locker: toothpaste, toothbrush, and tongue scraper. The three things you don't want on the ground. Those are the three things that.
Oh man.
You know what? The beauty of days like this is everything crappy just happens at once. So then the day's done. You're like, okay, I'm done. Moving on. Oh, no, actually, no. That's not true because I'm planning tomorrow on walking 100 kilometers. So never mind. I take it all back.
In comparison tomorrow, today is easy.
Yeah, it's like I got robbed. And it's like all these crappy things are happening, but it's like that is the easy part.
Yeah. Like,
oh shit.
oh,
Dude, that's exactly what I was talking about this morning or yesterday. I forget. Of like
yeah.
challenge yourself to this degree. Normal life, which means getting robbed, becomes the easy thing.
Dang.
Oh, man.
That's amazing.
That is hilarious.
So the easy button for life is pick the area that you're okay with being like the most insanely hard. And then everything else is easy in comparison. But
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. It totally works, because in like there's so many people who have stories of like life being insanely difficult with things that they didn't even choose. And so like they had to go through that acceptance process of like, um, you know, I didn't pick this, but this is just kind of how my life is. I have to accept it. But they go through something like having cancer or being in prison or going, going through a war or whatever. It's like, but because of that, the rest of the life that they have, that everybody else is like, oh, it's just like it's so hard. They're like, I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's like you are like you're giving yourself the experience that other people um like randomly have it happen to them, but you can actually like, oh dude, so this is like the, our on our way to millions of dollars. Like you can actually manufacture the conditions that it takes for you to have massive success. Like, why is it that every single person who's been really successful has some sort of like rags to riches or like I hit my rock bottom moment story? It's like because that's what's required for you to have massive success. And if you don't have that story, you can manufacture that by picking something that is just insanely hard. But what if you got to pick something that you wanted to do? What if that something that makes everything else in your life easy was actually the thing that you were excited to do and that made you feel more alive than anything else? Not that it's easy, but it's like
Yeah.
every time
No,
you
I see
do
what
it.
you mean. It's like this principle. You look at certain people who are like in drastic situations where it's like, it's this or die. And then we
Mhm,
see like amazing things they accomplish, and we're like, that is so amazing. And we kind
mhm.
of like wait for something like that. It's like, well, if that's what's meant to happen to me, that's what I'm going to go through. But it's like, you don't have to wait. You can manufacture that, like you were saying,
Dang.
where it's like, that's, this ties in a lot to what I was feeling like. I felt that multiple times in my life of like, you look at people who have like horrible circumstances and they dig themselves out and create like an amazing life out of that.
Mhm,
And it's like I've always felt kind of like, oh man, I've always had like a good life. I
mhm,
never really had a reason to complain. And it's
mhm,
like I felt that was always holding me back, and I was kind of like jealous, and I was kind of like wishing, like, oh man, I wish something like horrible happened to me, so then I would have no choice but to dig myself out.
mhm.
And I think what you were saying, like choosing to create your own nightmare, not so your life is miserable, but so you can become the kind of person who like survives that. That's
Yeah,
somehow more powerful than just kind of like being forced into that situation. It's like, well, I survived. Like, yeah, that's
yeah.
impressive. It's somehow more impressive someone who's like, I'm gonna go like in hell. I'm gonna journey across the entirety of hell just for the hell of
Mhm.
it, literally. Like that to me, like to most people, it's like, okay, you're just dumb, you're a masochist. But it's like, no, that is so much more powerful because you never have that option of just like you do have that option. Once you decide to put yourself in a bad situation, you always have the option at every moment to stop. Whereas when the situation was thrust upon you, it's like, do this or die. Like that's what it feels like. Those are the stakes.
Mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. This is interesting. By the way, look at what appeared on my bed.
A butterfly.
Yep. So, lost $200 today, but at least I found a butterfly on my bed. Oh shit. You know what's funny? I was saying like I lost $200 today. It's like that's not true. And not just because it's 190 and not 200, but like I'm grateful for the experience. So it cost me $190 for this experience.
Mm,
And it's like because of that belief, it's like, I don't regret anything. I'm grateful for the experience.
wow.
I wouldn't have chosen it. That's not one of the challenge I would have selected for myself.
Hmm.
But I really, no, I don't regret it. That's strange. That's really weird. Like I should like be upset. I should wish it happened differently, but I don't.
Man, that's so powerful. Like it's like the Holocaust survivor thing of like nobody wants this, nobody would wish it on anybody, but I wouldn't change what happened. And it's
Holocaust
I mean,
is a
I'm
little
not
more extreme than this.
yeah, but I mean it's the same principle at work there of somebody saying I wouldn't change what looks like something bad on the surface because there's so much good here to have experienced. And like having the, I don't know, having the like the filter where you're able to like sift and get that from the experience is it's like really powerful. And it's
All right.
funny that it's it's interesting that the life you're living, like the big, really, really insanely painful and costly things that are in your life are things that you've intentionally chosen over and over, as opposed to them randomly happening to you.
It's funny that you say that because as you were talking, I literally noticed like, oh, my lock is locked. So this guy's
Hmm.
action changed my behavior because now everyone's like gone. There's no one left in the room. So I'm like,
Hmm.
oh. So I literally just unlocked my lock. It's like, that's a message to the universe. Like, you can send someone to rob me. It's not going to change who I am.
Mm,
Universe.
wow.
I'm just kidding. Love you.
Well, actually, both of those things can be true.
Yeah. It's kind of like our relationship. It's like we're close enough that like sometimes I can be like, hey, fuck you. And it's like you don't take it as a bad thing, And
Hmm.
same
Yeah,
dude, look at that. I don't know if you can see it or if it's too dark.
watermelon.
Yay! Now I just need to walk 100 kilometers to deserve to eat it. Or fail and pity eat it. That's also an option.
But
Look, food that I
man,
bought, I'm like, no way I can eat that in a period of 24 hours. Like there's way too much food.
dang. I'm really like I'm super psyched to see what happens with this. I mean, coming off the back of today's experience, but like all of the energy that we've had of you helping me create this new offer, that I'm like, this is going to be something really cool. And all of that going into your walk, I'm like,
Ooh, a mango just fell from the tree. Adventure time.
but
For
it's
me,
sort of like,
for me, what amazes me is how quickly it's all happening. Of like, all right, 3 days ago we decided to create a business.
mhm,
And then like 2 days after that, today, like I get robbed, and then tomorrow I'm walking 100 kilometers. Like things are happening so fast.
Yeah.
Nice mango. It's cracked, but it just fell, so it should be good. I feel like this is like floating at work, you know, because like floating accelerates things.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, within the span of, there's a leaf stuck on my foot. Within the span of, this leaf is bugging me. Anyway, within the span of a couple of days, like you launch a business, I get robbed, and I'm like doing an insane challenge. Like within like a period of 4 days.
Mhm.
Like if that's not living life faster, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Oh God. Now there's another one. It's just, yeah, like it amazes me how once we start leaning into this, it just happens so fast. It's like before, like we've talked about, you know, creating a business together multiple times,
Mhm.
and it just kind of like we've had some ideas and we just started working on it and just kind of like fizzled out. But this time we weren't even trying. And the second we had an idea, we're just like, all right, let's do this. We're doing this.
Mhm.
And it's like that immediate like action
Mhm.
gets things so fast. But like we literally got to the point where it's like we were building a business before we really realized what we were doing.
Yeah.
Huh. So what if, can we replicate this? Can we make this happen again? Like we kind of like stumbled into creating a business without really realizing it. By the time we realized it, we're already in the process of doing it. So can we
Yeah.
replicate for everything in our lives? Can that just be how we live life? Or are we already living life like that?
I think we are. Hmm.
You seem to be thinking very hard.
Your internet connection is unstable. Who keeps telling me my internet?
Internet connection or your internet connection?
It seems to be mine. A message keeps telling me that my internet connection is unstable. The internet here for some reason has been like really, really bad.
So how bad is it? Is it like extranet? Crunchy mango.
So what would be, okay, let's just play this thought experiment for a second. Let's say for the sake of, um, okay, let's put it in this language. Maybe you won't die on this thing. Maybe it'll just be like after you do this, you're like, oh, I realize like ultra marathons and things like that's actually not who I am, and like I never am gonna do anything like this again. But like at this moment where this is something that's a huge part of what you want to do, what you're challenging yourself with, why is this something you want to do right now? Like if you had to leave this, for people to see and remember, like you're planning to walk 100,000 kilometers to, uh, wait, no, 100 kilometers.
No, I'm not doing that.
um, yeah, 100 kilometers, which is like 62 miles. Um, it's a lot. It's a huge ultra marathon.
So you're
Why
asking
you,
why I'm doing this?
yeah, what's the big drive behind this?
I don't really know. Like the way the idea came about was I was watching a video on YouTube of this guy who did like a challenge. I think it was like, yeah, it was a, what was it? Yeah, 100,000 step challenge where he tried to walk 100,000 steps in a day. And it took him like, I don't know, around 16 hours, something like that. And he got to like 86 and a half kilometers. I'm like, all right, if he did 86 and a half kilometers in 16 hours while taking breaks and stuff, 100 kilometers would be doable in a day. And it's just like, that seems like a cool challenge. Like, of course, the guy like has a fitness channel and like he works out every single day and he's ripped and everything. And like, I haven't worked out in a year, but I'm like, it's physically possible. And it's like the moment the idea popped into my head, it just felt like one of those ideas of crap, I gotta do this. I don't know why. Just like the kind of thing of like, I gotta do this inside. It just, I don't know. I have no idea. Like it doesn't make sense. I think maybe I was subconsciously looking for a challenge because like I've been thinking about that lately. Before I was talking about like, hey, maybe I should do this running challenge to like use it as motivation to, you know, make money. Of like, hey, I need to keep running until like I make this amount of money and then I can stop because I don't like running. Just like I've been kind of like on the lookout for a challenge, and this appeared, and I'm just like, crap, I gotta do this. And now it's like, yeah, I gotta do it. It's just, I don't know. I guess it filled the need.
Mhm.
I can't really explain it any better than that, and I realized that was a horrible explanation.
Well, I guess it kind of stems from like the kind of person you decide to be all the time. Like you've actively chosen to do like difficult challenges for yourself over and over again. Like before this, it was like I'm gonna go through this course, try and do as much of this as I can, see if that's gonna be the business that I really like. And before that, write a book in 30 days. For that, sell everything I own, go travel the world. We've been how many countries now since the beginning of the year?
Only three.
A lot more cities than that, though.
Yeah. Cities, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At least 9. Maybe more than I forgot, but at least 9.
Mhm. What is it about challenges that appeals to like the way that you want to be?
It's just a very concrete example, like a physical manifestation of who I want to be. Whereas other things, it's like it's non-quantifiable. So it's like, okay, I'm trying to behave like the person I want to be, but I don't have any concrete real world examples or proof that I'm being that person. Whereas this, it's like I fail or I succeed. It's like very clear cut. And even when I fail, like I failed my last challenge of trying to run 100 kilometers and failed and only hit 50. It still proved to me that I'm the type of person who takes on challenges like that, whether I failed or succeeded. I guess, yeah, it's to prove to myself that I'm being who I want to be.
So what does it feel like when you have those moments of committing to a challenge, like following through? Not necessarily like completing it or like winning, but like I did everything that was within my power to complete this. So even like you mentioned the challenge of like trying to run 100K and you ended up only doing 50. Like the quote failing that challenge was still like a massive achievement, like way more than most people have ever run in their life. What's it feel like to go through a challenge and then get on the other side of it and be like, I did
that? You want the real answer that you won't like, or the bullshit answer?
Let's hear them both.
All right. So the real answer you won't like is the only way for you to understand is to do it yourself. Not necessarily this challenge, but it's like do this kind of challenge. Like do something that is really difficult that you know, like midway through, you're gonna hate it and you're gonna want to stop. And it's like you need to put yourself in that situation. Like you can describe it in words, but people can never truly understand until they do it. Myself included. It's like I've done it, and even now it's like I don't know, but to answer your question, or at least the question I thought you were asking, is when I commit to it. The moment I commit to it is when I get that moment of crap, I got to do this. And it's a mixture of excitement because I'm like, wow, I'm going to do this. And a mixture of, I don't want to do this. So it's really that. It's like, and it's always the same experience, like that same thought pattern of like, I don't realize consciously that I've committed, but I've committed deep down. And I'm just like, my brain's like, ah, shit, I got to do this, don't I? And it's like, that is a very magical moment. And I think like the longer you delay it, the longer, like the lower the odds of you completing it. It's like when I did the other, like, well, I don't know, does this count as an ultra marathon? Because it's walking, it's not running.
I mean, it's a lot more than I've ever walked in one day. I mean, I've biked 50 miles, but that's way easier than like you being the engine.
I mean, now that I think back, like I don't know how long it was, but like I've biked at least like 80 kilometers a day, maybe 100. I forget exactly how much it was. It's like I did complete the Canadian Ski Marathon, which is 160 kilometers on like cross country skis over 2 days. And that was when I was 15, 14. So it's like I've been doing these types of challenges for a long time without really realizing it. Yeah, but the thing is, like, the biggest value of this is always when I commit. Like that moment where I decide, like, I'm doing this no matter what. Like, yeah, doing it as a challenge and everything. And after, it's like, I'm grateful that I went through with it. But it's like, I think that's why it doesn't matter if I succeed or fail. It doesn't matter. Like, like that whole principle of doing it to realize you didn't need to do it. That's the thing. It's like the truly important, like the thing that changes you inside is that moment where you realize like I've committed, I need to do this no matter what. The rest is just follow through. Like that feeling goes away and that transformation inside goes away if you don't follow through. But it's not the follow through that matters. It's that shift where you decide, I'm going to do this. Like that moment that it truly impacts you. And then you do it just to like cement that in so you don't lose that.
Mhm.
That's
So-
interesting. I never realized that before.
Interesting. So the transformation actually happens before you've done it. Like you become that person and you just have to, like, okay, in order for me to maintain the reality or the integrity of what I've become, it's like you have to put it into practice so that it's like it stays real.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it because we think like, oh, I want to become that person. And we think we need to go through a process to become that person. But the second you commit to becoming that person, you've become that person and your actions just prove it. They display it in the world of like, hey, you're this person now. That's why you're doing these actions. And it's like, but you've already transformed. It's just if you don't do those things, then you're reverting back to your normal self. But I think like that's the distinction we failed to make is we think, oh, I need to become that. It's like, no. The second you commit to becoming that, you've become it. All you need to do is just live up to what you've become.
Wow. That's amazing. So you really like, in a sense, like you really can be anything you want to be. Like the idea of that, like, yeah, anything's possible. It's like it's actually true. It, and and yet we disbelieve it so much that we don't ever allow ourselves to become it and then to do something about it.
Man, I'm really looking forward to the day where I get that same feeling for money of like, oh crap, I need to make $1 million, don't I? Like I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be cool.
Mm, so when you've done the follow through, once you've completed a challenge, like what do you get from that? You've talked a little bit about like sometimes you realize like I didn't even need to do it. Like this wasn't something I needed to do. And I think maybe you kind of explained it a little bit because the transformation actually happens before. Um, but what is it like to understand that after having done it?
I mean, it's a mixed feelings. Like obviously you're relieved that it's over and you're proud to have done it, whether you failed or succeeded. But there's always kind of like that internal expectation of something's going to change as a result of me completing this. But because we just realized, like the change occurs once you commit, not once you complete. There's always been this feeling of not really let down, but it's more like I was expecting more out of it.
Mm,
And I think now with this new understanding of like, I've already had the transformation I needed to. All I need to do now is go out and walk 100 kilometers. Like, I'm not going to get anything more from doing it aside from proof that, okay, I am this person now.
mm,
So it's kind of like you prove to yourself and to the world that the shift that happened inside is real.
wow.
So to kind of like give an analogy, it's kind of like the
So
decision, the decision to commit is the spark that lights the candle.
mm,
If you go through, the candle is going to keep burning and shine brighter and brighter. If you choose not to go through, then the candle is just going to die because it doesn't have that fuel to sustain it.
mhm.
Like, either way, the spark was there. Either way, the candle is lit. It's up to you whether you want to keep it alive by doing what you said you would do, or if you let it die by.
Oh, Okay, I finally understand what you mean by that. It's like you can bring yourself to any reality for a moment. And it's like in that instance, you are that thing. But in order to keep that idea alive or to keep the candle burning, to like let that reality be something that has existed long enough for other people to have observed it as well and to validate, oh yeah, that happened. You have to feed it and let it burn long enough that other people can see it.
Yeah, I think I like that analogy of like different reality of like you go to that reality, but if you don't start acting like the version of you who belongs in that reality, you're
Mhm,
just going to shift back to your default self and go back to whatever reality
right.
you.
Mhm. So it's sort of like being able to, like, like the person that you can become, or like the shift of committing. It's like opening a door and saying, "Oh, that's a whole new space." Um, it's that
I
spark of,
feel like it's to
but
go
if you
back to
don't,
your. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, but if you never walk through and invite other people through it, through the door with you, it's just like peeking in and then you never do anything. It's like I've never gone there and stayed.
To go back to your like alternate, reality thing. It's kind of like you get to that reality as soon as you get there.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like actually no, it's like you become the version of you that belongs in that other reality.
Hmm.
Yet you're still in this reality. And until you start consistently acting like that version, the world is not going to transform around you to reflect that. So it's kind of like you've become that version of yourself that belongs in that reality, but that
Hmm.
reality will not appear around you until you act
Right.
as a person.
Right. So like going on the ultra marathon builds a bridge between the reality that you're experiencing and the reality that everybody else experiences. So it's like you're you're funneling a piece of what you see into the reality that everybody else shares by doing the actions and building or creating the things by being that person and embodying what you really are.
I think that's why people give up because they have
Mm,
that internal transformation. They become that other version of themselves. And then they look around, they're like, the world does not reflect who I am. So I must
mhm,
be wrong. And they revert back to their version of themselves that belongs in that
right.
universe
Mhm,
rather than acting as that new version of themselves, then waiting for the universe to change around them and reflect what they are now.
mm,
And I think it's that like delay that messes with everyone. Of
mhm.
like, when I did this thing, I became this person. Why am I not seeing the result? Well, it takes time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. That that really puts a whole new spin on like what you're able to do and achieve, because you don't have to actually do the thing to deserve it. Like if you just search long enough with the right understanding, with the right belief, with the right feeling, you can be that person and not have ever done anything to deserve it. And it's just by saying, well, I'm going to continue to be this person now and continue to be this person and do the things that this person will do, that the steps and the things that make it concrete reality for everybody else, those things just flow out of who you are rather than, well, I have to do this in order for everybody else to in order for me to be that person or for everybody else to affirm that in me.
Yeah, and I feel like
And
this ties back. Go ahead.
I think I'm done. Yeah, it's like the reason why you're doing something is a small nuance, but like if I'm doing it because this is who I am, instead of I have to do this to get to be that person. I mean, in
Yeah,
practice, like just from on paper, it seems like there's no difference, but it's like it makes all the difference to somebody who has feelings, who thinks about things, who experiences life as a like a conscious entity. Like why you do it has a huge impact on continuing to exist in that space.
and yeah, I feel like this ties into what we were talking about like a while back of maybe the easy way is the hard way. And it's like, yes and no. I think with this understanding, it's like it just needs to be the hard way until the world changes around you to match your new self. And then it can become easy.
Yeah.
And it's like it feels like hard work in the beginning because it's like the world does not match who I now am inside.
Mhm.
It's like you're struggling and fighting against the world. But if you just keep doing that for long enough, the world is going to change and match you. And then things become very easy. And it's like we
Mm.
get so overwhelmed of like, oh, it's hard now, it's going to be hard forever. And we just give up. And because we give up, we stop being that new version of ourselves. So we revert back to who we are, and the world around us stays the same, and we stay the same. And it's like all we have to do is just stay focused on our goal for long enough to affect the world around us,
Mm.
and then we can just kind of like rein back, and we don't need to work as hard because we're like on the same frequency as the universe.
Dang.
And I think that this is exactly the principle that explains why we've failed in business until now, because we've never
Mhm.
stuck with it long enough that the universe matched who we had become.
Right. And in some sense, it's like not having the conscious understanding of what's actually happening makes us like lose the enthusiasm or the excitement because we think like, well, if that reality hasn't arrived, then I must not be that person. And you stop doing the things. So from this vantage point, it becomes time travel in a sense. Like you get to go see that version of yourself. Oh, I am that. Like that's gonna happen. So now everything else that happens is like it's just inevitable. I just need to be the person who keeps doing the things until that reality catches up.
I think that is the value of doing these challenges. It's like it's such an extreme challenge that it literally like transforms the world around me. So it's like you can wait for it to happen or you can force it to happen. It's going to be very
Mm,
difficult, but it's like, hey, I decided I'm going to be like a badass person, like the most badass person in the world. Like that is the perception I want to have. And with this challenge, it's proven to myself like I am this person. It changes my perception and thus changes how I exist in this world. So it's like I could go the slow and steady route and wait for the universe to kind of like prove it to me. Or I can be like, I'm going to prove to the universe and myself that I am this version of myself.
mhm.
Or maybe it's just like, I'm going to do this to prove to myself that I am this new version until the world reflects it back to me. So maybe it's just a way of like proving to myself, you're this person, don't give up, keep going, and eventually the world is going to reflect
Mm.
it. I think that is true manifestation of like, okay, I've had this internal shift. It changed who I am. I'm going to live as this person now, and that's going to attract the things that that version of myself deserves. Whether be money or friendship or anything else.
Dang. Oh, this is amazing, because when you see it from this standpoint, it's like once you get to that space, once you get to that place where you feel like, okay, that's what I am, that's what I can be, that's who I can choose, then if you decide I'm going to commit, like you can lock that in. Say, I become this person from now on. And then as long as you do something moving towards that reality where other people can see it and share it, like you're continually affirming, oh snap, this is what you're saying. It's like, this is what manifesting is like you're bringing that reality more into form by saying like, okay, I'm choosing one more time that this is how I'm going to act. This is how I'm going to show up. So the universe has to change around me to match. And it looks just like, well, you just did one thing. You just did a task. So, but like is the slow motion process that we're able to see and do and experience in slow motion. That is the mirror image of just becoming that through your choice, through your feeling of that's what I am, that's what I can be.
And I feel too like we can use this kind of as a hack. So it's like, let's say my goal is to become rich. And it's like, for some reason, I have an internal block when it comes to money. And I just like can never find the motivation to do the work necessary to become. Then the strategy can become, all right, what version of myself is rich and what other qualities do they have? And how can I embody those other qualities so that the world matches and the money that I want comes as a result of that, with really having to do that much work to get the money at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's what I've been leaning into with this whole challenge thing. It's like, I've challenged myself a bunch of times doing different things in the last few years. And it's like, it helped me evolve so much as a person, but in so many other areas of like life. Like, okay, I ran 50 kilometers in a day, but it's like, I have no interest in becoming an ultra marathon runner or like anything physical. Like, that's not what I'm after. But doing that challenge changed who I am and added other like qualities to my personality that are completely unrelated to that. And I think like that is why like intuition is so important, because like, I know I need to do this. I don't know why, but I do. And then you do, and something completely unrelated happens and the connection doesn't happen in your mind. But with this new understanding, you're like, oh, I'm doing this walking challenge and oh, I just made $1 million. Like the two seem unrelated, but if I know this is how the world works, I know the two are not unrelated. So I think like that's the importance of following your gut. Of like, there's no reason why I should do this. It's not going to bring me anything, but that is what I'm meant to do.
Okay, so what's coming up for me? This is why I'm so like, this is why I resonate so much with storytelling and movies. It's like when you tell a story, you're able to create a reality with so much less friction and resistance in the universe. You're able to share a piece of reality in a way that somebody else can receive it, and you can accelerate that process. So in a way, you can bypass matter and having to shift matter around by telling the story of it. And then when somebody can experience it with you, that's why stories, that's why music changes culture. That's why it shifts where the public consciousness is. So in a sense, like my most powerful is by going back and saying, like, this skill set that I have of telling stories and being able to create images and show people from the angle where somebody else can share the experience and understand the same thing that somebody else has experienced. We just cut down the manifestation process to like a few minutes instead of maybe months or years or decades.
All right, it's funny that you said that because the realization I had was kind of linked to that, but also like contradicts what you just said. What you said is like, we can shrink it to a couple minutes. It's like, yes, if you become good at storytelling, you can get people to go through that internal shift and they become that new version of themselves. But most people don't realize that, and they don't know how to act as the new version of themselves, so they automatically revert to their original selves. That's why motivational speaking, self-development is mostly bullshit. Because someone can go to a Tony Robbins event and be completely transformed at the end of the 3 days. They go back home and just revert to who they were because they don't know how to live as that new version of themselves.
Yeah. So it's
like
like you can put somebody there in the place where they believe it, but then if they don't know what to do next in order to continue maintaining that reality on their own, they're gonna snap back to who they were before.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why so few people get results, because it's like you teach them something and they become transformed and then they just go back to who they were because they didn't like earn it. And I think that is the problem. It's like they need to earn it in order to be able to become it, like more than a few hours or a few days.
And
it's
I
very
think this
hard
is
to force someone through that process. Like it's nearly impossible, which is why it's like, okay, you can tell stories and motivate people and inspire them and they're going to change, but the odds of it being like a permanent change are so slim. So it's like at the end of the day, that's kind of why I gave up on coaching and motivational speaking and stuff, because it's like I realized it's all bullshit. Like I can get people through the transformation, but at the end of the day, 99% of them are going to revert back to who they were. So they need to do it themselves and earn it themselves. It's like I can be there and help them along the way, but there's very little I can do that they can't do themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why our mastermind was so transformational, because you had multiple people looking at that new reality and all continuously affirming it. So it was something that stayed alive, that went beyond like when you felt it, there's three other people that's like, yeah, but remember this, look at this, like this is how I see you. And so it covers those gaps where your belief and your ability to maintain that reality, it's able to sustain. So the more people that you get believing in something, the more people, I think this is why I'm so attracted to community. Like I wouldn't have articulated it this way before, but it's like the reality of who you know you can be and who you choose to be in some moments. When you state that for other people, like accountability, it really just boils down to like somebody else observing what you've stated. It's just somebody else is looking at it and believing in it too. So when you like have a moment where you're like, oh, maybe I was just fooling myself. I don't believe it anymore. Somebody else can be like, no, but I believe it. And it keeps the candle going until you come back and be like, you know what? I really can do this. I am this person. And it keeps the light from going out.
Huh. This is making me realize why I shied away from being a coach. The coach is like, I mean, nothing against, Jessica or Bobby or you to some extent or anyone who's a coach, but to me, it's just like, it's bullshit. Like you can just lie to yourself when you pay me and you feel like you're transforming, but you're not. Like the true transformations go from you challenging yourself, you going on adventures. And it's like, I know that if I can be there with you on the adventure, I can help you. I can help encourage you and show you like, hey, just keep doing this and the transformation is going to happen. But it's like, you can't do that sitting down. You need to be actively taking action. Like, it doesn't mean you need to physically go out and like run a marathon, but it's like, you need to be putting yourself through the ringer. And it's like, I can be there with you to support you and encourage you. But like most coaching isn't that.
Right.
It's like the person needs to be committed. It's like if they're committed and they're like, I'm doing this with or without you, but they know that by hiring you, it's going to make the process easier and quicker, then yeah, okay. But it's like, I would never work with someone who like I have to convince they need to do it. It's kind of like if I come across someone who's
Right.
like, I want to challenge myself, like, can you help me? It's like, yeah, okay, we can do that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if that's what I want to do.
Okay, so this is
Encourage
helping me.
you need to do it yourself. Just as an
Yeah.
example,
This
I
is
used
helping
to
me realize. Go ahead. As an example.
I used to be very shy and introverted. And it's like, I was insecure about my like body and stuff like that. And like now before at the start, I was literally like changing. I was literally in the bathroom, like taking off my bathing suit and putting on like my boxers and my shorts. And here I'm cutting my nail live on YouTube. It's like, I don't give a shit. And I got to this point by challenging myself. But it's like, no one could ever have forced myself to do this. Every time someone tried to force me or encourage me or get me to change, I always fought against it. So it's like, I just had to go through the journey to get to the point where I was sick enough of who I was that I'm like, all right, I want to change. I'm going to challenge myself. So it's like, I'm okay selling like products, like where it's like we're delivering something concrete. Like, hey, this is how you create. Like, this is how you launch, grow, and monetize your Facebook group. Like, that's not bullshit. You're actually giving them results. But like, just plain old motivation, like, or just coaching to me, like, that's bullshit. To me, that doesn't mean that coaching in itself is bullshit. It's just, yeah, to me, I could never do that.
Yeah, I think what you're touching on is it's sort of like you're not there to facilitate the transformation. You're there to like somebody else has to be doing it themselves. It has to be their work. You can't really give it to them or hand it to them. And I think that distinction or that nuance is something that lots and lots of coaches and clients don't even fully understand.
Yeah, so it's kind of like someone wants to get like in shape. It's like, well, I could work out for you, but it's not going to make you any better. You need to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I don't want to just be a coach, like sitting on the sideline. Like, okay, you want to become like buff, like, okay, so these are the exercises you need to do. And then I stand beside you. It's like, you can do it. Keep pushing. One more. It's like, screw that. I want to be like alongside you, like, pushing the bar and be like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to die, but we can do this.
And I think that's something else that I see people look for, or at least for me, I've seen this very, very vaguely discussed or talked about, but it's sort of like, and it may be more of a generational thing. I think part of what I'm looking for in my experience is not the like expert student relationship. It's like we are peers and we understand, even though like you may be more advanced at a particular skill, like I still recognize the inherent value of you as a person and a human, and I don't see myself as better or worse than you. So it's like whatever you're whatever the transformation that you're after, like I want you to be the kind of person who already sees that and believes it, and you're just doing this stuff as an afterthought, or like this is because of it's part of who you are, and I'm going to do the stuff that's a part of who I am. And I think when people try to accelerate that process or pull you into a different reality without you having fully gone through the process of deciding I'm going there, you feel yourself resist it. And so even somebody who's like, I'm an expert at this, this is something I can teach you, it's something I can give you, I can show you how to do this. If you haven't decided, well, that's who I am, then it doesn't matter how much help they want to give you or how much they can explain to you. It's like you're not ready to go to that reality. So you're still trying to figure out how to believe yourself into that space or see a window into it. So you don't want anybody else yanking you into something you cannot see.
Yeah, I think. I think that's it. Like, you can't force anyone to change. It's like, let's say, like you're gonna run an ultra marathon. It's like, all right, I need to convince this person that they need to run an ultra marathon, so they want to buy my product. It's like, no, you need someone who already committed to running an ultra marathon. They just need help on how do I train? How long do I train? Can you like push me? Can you help me? Can you show me how to do it? And
Yeah.
I feel like so many people like miss that.
That's okay. So this is interesting. How do we find people who already believe that they're gonna do it or are ready to believe it and are willing to do that work first, where they can get themselves to the place where, yeah, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want because it's who I am. And do you just do that by being yourself, and that's who you end up attracting?
I don't know, but I know that if we figure that out, we're gonna be fucking rich. Because because we know us, like we know we can deliver. So if we just figure out how to find the person who's already committed, we know that we can deliver the results.
Mm-hmm.
So if we find a way to consistently find the person who's committed, and then we're just like, hey, this is how you do it. Like results every single time. And like word of mouth and everything is just like going to explode. So it comes down to how do we find people who have already committed? So I guess it's like for our product, it's like we need entrepreneurs who are overworked and not just know they should have a Facebook group, but have actively decided, I need to create a Facebook group for my business. I'm going to create a Facebook group. How do I do that? We need to find those people at that step. When they're like, I'm doing this, how do I do it? If we find those people and put our product in front of them, it's going to be like snap.
I just realized this is why people charge high ticket prices. It filters out the people who don't believe yet.
Yeah.
It's a way of getting somebody to really look and say, do you actually value yourself enough to follow through on this? Is this what you're actually already doing? And so you either know that you're on that path and it's like, this is just a formality in me getting the information and the help and support I need to be who I'm going to be. Or it's an opportunity for you to ask yourself, am I really willing to do this to the point where it feels so uncomfortable? And it's like, it gives you that first step into the experience of saying, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm committing to making this happen. And if it's not a big enough challenge, it's not a big enough hurdle, it doesn't give them that experience.
I think that's the thing. It's like if we ask people, it's like, okay, you want to, launch, grow, and monetize your Facebook group.
Mhm.
Pay $1,000 for it. No, then you haven't decided to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, of
And I
course,
think,
it's more complicated than that.
yeah,
But
and I think this
that's
is
the
why
basic.
people get triggered when they feel like coaches are gaslighting, because on some level, either somebody's like, this is how it works, this is what's happening, and they don't understand the process, or they do understand that that's what's actually happening when they ask people to pay a lot of money. And when people aren't doing the things they're saying, like, hey, why aren't you doing this? You committed, you said you were going to do this. They understand what's happening in the background, but somebody else hasn't fully understood that process. And so their help, so to speak, is experienced as, why are you like making me feel bad about me? Like, I'm trying my best, like I can't do this, or like you're trying to force me to be something that I'm not. And so like
I,
it's that mismatch in understanding of like what is actually truly happening in the process.
I think, yeah, that's it. Like, warm audiences for us are people who are like overwhelmed entrepreneurs who have decided to build a Facebook group for their business.
Mm-hmm.
The hot audience. The warm audience is people who like, they understand the value of a Facebook group, but they're not quite sure if it's for them, or like if it's worth the money and the
Mm-hmm.
investment of time. And then cold is people who are like, they're entrepreneurs, they want to make more money, but they have no idea, like Facebook groups isn't even on their radar.
Yeah.
And I feel like coal is like, yes, we can convert them, but it's going to be a lot more work, a lot more money,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot more effort. Warm is relatively simple. It's just like, the value of this. Let us
Mm-hmm.
show you our system and the people who are getting results and how easy it is. So
Yeah.
then you realize, like, okay, this is something that I need to do. And then, of course, hot, it's like they're already looking for that. All we need to do is like, hey, we have the answer to what you're looking for. Man, this clarifies things so much.
Yeah. This is amazing. This is one of the big blocks that I've had for myself. Like, why am I not taking action? It's because I didn't understand the nature of belief versus like trying to earn things. This is this is this is
Dude,
literally mind blowing.
I think we should literally try. I don't know why I keep saying literally, but anyway, we should try to focus all our marketing on people who are already committed to creating a Facebook group, because they've already decided, but they think like, oh, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of energy, and like all that, those. And then we come along and like, you can do exactly what you want to do in 5 minutes a day. So it's like they know what they want to do. They know they should do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they've committed to doing it, but they're still like in that mindset of, oh, it's going to be so much work.
Mm-hmm.
And then all we have to do is like, you can do it in 5 minutes a day. And then it's going to be like,
Dang.
because, here, fill out the information here to buy it.
And what I love about that is that model, seeing it from that perspective, means like knowing exactly who we're trying to get and how we're offering it, why we're offering it to them. this is the model where we become the universe. You're like, you want to do that? You've already demonstrated you're committed to doing it. Make it easy for you. Here you go.
I think
Like we are helping bend reality around the person that they are becoming by breaking it down into something much simpler than they understood that it was going to be. We make it attainable.
dude, I think this is what we've been talking about, but it didn't really occur to me until what you just said. It's like we need to find people who have already had that internal shift, that decision of, I'm a person who's creating a Facebook, and all we do is just give them a proof in this universe. Hey, this is who you are. You can be this person. Just reach out and grab it.
Mm,
With this new mindset, it's not like we need to convince them. It's like they've made the internal shift. We just need to show them, hey, this is the result that you want. Don't revert back to who you were. Keep living as who you are now.
Man, if we can build a business around this, where we are mirroring and modeling the way that the universe shows up for people and mirrors the experience that they're already having, I think this is going to be a pretty transformational experience.
And the thing is, like, that is our ideal customer, but everyone like one step before we can also get, because we can bring them through the process of transformation, and once they have, then we offer the result. So like someone who understands the value, like, yes, I need to create like if it's someone who understood, like, okay, I understand the value of Facebook group, I need to create one, but they haven't really decided, we can walk them through the process with the webinar of like, hey, this is why you need to do this. And then at the end, once they have that transformation of like, okay, yeah, I need to do this, then it's like, hey, this is how you do it. So it's like, it's good to be super clear on that ideal perfect customer who would literally just buy it as long as you're like, hey, we can help you do this in 5 minutes a day. Here's these bonuses. Here's the value for this amount. Like that could be it. But we can also convert everyone else who hasn't had that transformation yet, but it's like right at the point where they're ready to have it. And the webinar is that process that gets them the transformation, and the product is the result, like the real world proof of you've become this person now. Use this product to continue being that person.
Dang. So I think we just nailed our target audience.
It's so overwhelmed entrepreneur who has decided to start a Facebook group.
And in some sense, we're also kind of like, we can sub niche down into like the spiritual or manifestation space where people may have gone through this understanding in their own way, or we can have this conversation and they're like, I get it, I'm in.
Dude, is there a way to use manifestation to sell? In the sense of like, can we find the exact right people and present them their offer so that they're like, I asked for this. You're like the universe delivering what I asked for. Is that
I think
possible?
so.
We unlock that key.
I think so. I think that's what the business needs to be, is it needs to be the universe showing up for somebody the exact way that it's like, I asked for this very thing and it showed up at my doorstep. This is I have to say yes to this.
So I think it doesn't make sense to like use those words like manifestation and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't necessarily understand that.
It wouldn't need to, but we could probably start experimenting with that, being on the nose with that group, and then just like keep working our way out. Is like, what needs to be here in order for that process to happen? So what do we need to say so that somebody who's had that experience, it may not look like that from that niche, but it's like they've gone through that conversation with themselves, and we put the offer in front of them in that way where it feels like, oh man, I already decided this. Like, how did this happen? Like, it's just like too perfect for it to Like I need to do this now.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's in the messaging and the wording and how we deliver it in such a way that it's not like we're trying to sell you. We're just like, we know we're the answer to what you've been looking for.
Mhm.
It's like, how do we convey that like subconsciously through the message?
Does it have to be subconscious? Is it like, so understanding what we understand now, what is the one question that we need to ask where this business is the answer? Like, have you been wanting to build a Facebook group, but you feel like it will take too much time? Or have you been, if you're getting ready to launch a community, let me show you how you can
I just realized
do it in
maybe
5
it's
minutes a
not
day.
necessarily like overwhelmed entrepreneurs, but it's entrepreneurs that are overwhelmed by the idea of having their own Facebook group.
Mm. Mhm.
Because like if they're just overwhelmed by that, they're also an ideal client. Like they don't need to be overwhelmed in like the general
Right.
sense.
Yeah, they don't need to have their lives burning down around their ears. And honestly, that's probably less ideal of a client. But if it's like, yeah, not overwhelmed entrepreneurs, but it's like if launching a Facebook community seems overwhelming to you, what if you could do it in 5 minutes a day?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like it's literally entrepreneurs who know they should have a Facebook group or want to launch their own Facebook group, but they're overwhelmed by the idea because they think it's going to be so much work. And our answer is like, hey, we can
Yeah.
show you how to do it in 5 minutes per day. It's super simple. We're going to walk you through everything. Plus, you get amazing bonuses. Oh yeah, by the way, we're the answer to the thing you've been asking for.
Yeah. It's the same idea as that meme that you see every so often. It's like, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. Like the little positive encouragement message is like, yeah, okay, that's a great self-fulfilling prophecy, but if we can show up that way, like it's gonna be a magical experience for exactly who needs it.
Imagine like we start the video like, hey, there you are. We've been looking for you.
We do a little skit like dress up in like one of those space shirts with like the cosmos on. This is the universe calling.
This is the universe's secretary. Can you hold for the universe? Man, it's funny because I was thinking like today's probably going to be kind of like a wasted day when it comes to business because of everything that happened this morning. I was like, oh, I'll just, maybe go through another part of the book this afternoon, but this is so much more valuable than that.
This has been incredible, and I feel like this is going to make crafting the offer so much quicker than if I'd sat down and tried to force like, all right, I just need to clench and like do it. Squeeze that one out.
Oh crap.
This is pretty amazing.
It's just blowing my mind how it's like some days we're like, oh, let's just float and then do the work. And other days we're like, let's just float. And then the floating process reveals something amazing about the
Yeah,
it's like no matter what we do, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Whether that's working, whether it's floating and realizing something about the business, or getting robbed, whatever that's meant to be.
I think because floating is our way of it accelerates the process of being who we truly are It's like when we drop the expectations of what are we trying to create? It's like stop trying to create stuff. Just be who you are, and we maintain that reality between the two of us. It allows us to just whiz past like the whatever you have to change and manipulate in like in 3D matter. It's like what are the actions that you have to just like you can get there quicker. And so like on the way or like once you arrive there, it's like you can look back and understand the experience. So now we have more of the understanding of what it's like to have messaged this audience, to have like gone through the experience of figuring out that process. So now we can kind of go backwards and just do it having lived it through it.
Okay, we've been talking about manifestation in the universe, like giving people what they ask for. Just for a fun experiment, what if what happened this morning was the universe giving me what I asked for? So I guess the question is, what did I ask for that to be the result?
Ooh, that's a deep question. What do you think is the answer? Well, what do you think happened? Actually, because you said this thing happened, and I'm really grateful for it, and I wouldn't change it. So if it's a good thing, what was it that you asked for that becomes the fulfillment for it?
Okay, how about this? Do you think we would have gotten to where we got now with this conversation and this like realization about our business without what happened this morning, or do you think it's separate?
I don't know. I don't know if it's directly related, or I feel like okay, this is what I'm imagining. It's sort of like that in the world where all of the stuff that happened this morning and the reality that we existed in yesterday was, and the reality where we are millionaires, it's like there's only like a few little possibilities where that exists. It's like we just traveled this one little thread where those happen to intersect, and it's like if that little moment was missed, we maybe wouldn't make it to that spot. And so it's like because of what happened this morning, we ended up talking about, well, who are we really trying to be? And like we had that conversation about, man, what if that guy is like another version of you? Or what if you can be the version of you that inspires him to be the best version of himself? Or what if in some way it helps you by, it's like by what you put out into the world actually bounces back and comes back to you. Like that kind of all feels like it's interrelated in some way, but it's like there is no direct, like there's not a lane that goes from this version of reality to that one. It's sort of like they just sort of kind of all float in the same bubble, but like if you move and change trajectory like in a higher version or dimension, you can see the little spot where it connects, but you won't ever see it from another, like from inside the system.
I'm just wondering, because it could be like, this is just like a quick stop on the way to the reality that I'm heading to. So it's kind of like a pit stop. It's like, well, I guess I shouldn't stop there. Or it could be, maybe this is an experience that the version of myself who is rich or is becoming rich needs to go through in order to go on that journey.
You know what came up for me earlier today was like when you said something about how today feels easy because of what you're going to do tomorrow. And I'm like, what if what you actually needed was to have experienced today, which is without any other context? If you weren't doing this run, if you were just on your living out in Costa Rica and like you got robbed and with no other context, you'd be like, this sucks. Like we would have had a day where it's just like, this is crap. But in order for you to get to this bigger thing, which is like, I'm going to do this ridiculously hard thing, you had to have something that without that context, this would be ridiculously hard. And you're going through it saying, you know what? I'm the kind of person that I'm glad that this happened. And this actually doesn't change anything about who I am. and I'm grateful for it. And it's like you're taking one stair step into like, here's a super, super duper hard thing. Let me show you that the person that you are, this hard thing is like nothing to you. It's easy. And that's the kind of person that you are, and that is able to like go and do this thing tomorrow, because you already are that. You've already experienced it in 3D reality. And it's like all the way to the end of whatever you're going to end up doing tomorrow. It's like you can be the same person that you know you are when you committed all the way through to the end.
Okay, so I definitely see how my decision to commit to this and yesterday's process of reaching out to everyone I care about and just showing appreciation and saying like, hey, on the off chance that I die, just wanted to say that I love you and that I appreciate everything about you. And it's like, after going through that process, I just felt so like at peace and literally ready for the challenge or whatever came next. It just happened that what came next was me getting robbed. It's like, because of that process, the experience of getting robbed like was super easy. But like, why did that experience happen in the first place? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I don't
It's
know.
like the
Is it?
decision to walk the 100 kilometers made the process of getting robbed way easier. But why did the process of being robbed happen in the first place? What triggered that, or why did it happen? Like, not to explain or anything, just because I'm curious. Like, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
What is the meaning for this?
I mean, is it just to show you like that piece that you like experienced yesterday that like is carrying through today?
Okay.
So as you're doing this thing tomorrow, like you're gonna hit that wall where it's like, oh man, like am I gonna quit now? It's like you can bring that piece with you where it's not just an idea. It's not just the feeling of, oh, I said some nice things to people I care about and I felt good. It's like, no, I went through something hard and that thing actually transcended the experience because of who I am. And that thing can even rise up like and fill this space too, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it's just a way to prove to myself I already am that version of myself that I've become by committing to this. It's like, okay, I never really put it together, but what if, like, I committed to this ridiculous challenge, and then within like the span of a few days, it's like we launch a business, or at least we create a business. I get robbed and I don't give a crap. And it's like, tomorrow, hopefully, I'm gonna walk 100 kilometers. So it's like the mere action of deciding I'm gonna do this has already created so much goodness in my life. It's like, maybe it's unrelated, but it's just like the fact that it happened like so quickly. Like, commit, oh, business, ooh, got robbed, but I don't care. Ooh, I'm walking 100, ooh, this, ooh, that. It's just like, is it that simple? Is the mere act of committing enough to transform everything?
Okay, so maybe this is a good opportunity for me to try and follow.
I mean, are you ready though? Because you shouldn't do anything that you're not ready for.
Yeah.
All right, just for fun, what insane or ridiculous or like hard challenges popping up in your head? Like, I'm sure something occurred to you when you had the idea of like, maybe I should do this. What's that thing?
God damn it.
Oh, I see. You're already having that feeling of, I don't want to do this, which is exactly why you need to do it.
Yeah, and I've never done that. Like I've never had that like, oh crap, I gotta do this kind of feeling and like honored that. But it's like you do that so well. And by you being that person in as much as you ever have been within just in this last week or so, like all of these things starting to happen around you, like your reality matching who and what you are, even to the point where it's like all the hard stuff just seems like that's just what it has to be because this is who I am. Um, and it's on some level, it's like it's still hard, but it's like the doing it and it's like it's not even a choice. It's just it's gonna happen. And I think maybe that's where I need to get to is, I mean, that's where I'm at is I'm starting to see those things come up. And I need to be the guy that's like, all right, let's do it.
So what exactly are you resisting against? What is it that you know you should do, but that you don't want to do?
So
And if you're not ready, that's okay. Like you don't have to do it. I'm just
no, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that it's like, it seems like the right thing to do. And I'm just scared of having never done it. And it's like, I think I'm really afraid of the thing that
having sex
actually
with another guy.
scares me. The thing that scares me is like, I like to do things that I haven't done before, but then I have an expectation about it. It's like, oh, it's gonna take this long, or I'm gonna be able to finish it. And then I try it, and I all of a sudden it's like trying to run through quicksand. It's like I wanted to sprint, and I'm now having to like just like slog. And it's like this is not what I asked for. And it's like it is what you asked for. You're wanting it to be something that it's not. And and so like I need to like peel away those layers of like, okay, I'm seeing that this is the next step that I can do, that I have the ability to do, that like is apparent to me. And it's like I know enough to start and I'll figure out the rest. I should just do it and then accept however long it takes to do it is the person that I am. Like whatever I need to do to complete it is the attitude that it takes to win, not be pissed off at like, oh, why can't this be easy? Or like, I didn't want it to be like this much work or whatever. It's like, I need to, I need to let the part of me go that's like imagines it in a way where it's simple and fun, and just be like, oh, I see that that's an option. Like I need to go through that door and just accept whatever comes along with it.
And is it
And
something specific, or is it just like a general thing that you need to do?
well, when you asked the question, the thing that immediately popped up in my head was like, I have a spreadsheet of like 100 groups that allow self-promotion. I'm like, so what I need to do is write an offer this week and then just use that spreadsheet and actually post that offer in all of those groups where I think it's like over a week, like they show you which days you're allowed to post. So it's like over a week, in a week or so, I could have posted an offer in 100 groups. And I'm like, you put that offer out in front of 100 people, and like that's the first test to try and validate, is this something people even want?
All right. So I guess the question is, what does it tell you inside?
It tells me inside, damn it. What it tells me inside is run faster. And like I've attached a lot of identity to, I want to go at my own pace. I want to go slow. And a lot of that comes out of like protecting myself. And the reality is like, I don't want to be somebody who goes slow. I did that because I didn't want to feel pain. Like I want to be the guy who works hard and works long because I love it. And that's what enables me to go fast. And my picture of what fast is in my head compared to what fast is in objective reality, according to the universe, might need some adjustment. But like, I want to be that guy, not somebody who only wants what I want. It's like that part of me, which operates from fear and protection, is like the kind of one of the last remnants of like, this is the selfish part of me that is like, I'm making all of these stupid decisions for myself because I only want what I want instead of what I could have, which is real. It's like, it might not feel good, it might not be easy all the time, but it's like having what's in the moment or having what's present as opposed to wanting something that is not, I think is what is keeping me stuck.
Okay, can I just challenge you on something?
Yeah.
Because you make the assumption that if you go at your own pace, you're going to be going slower than you want or should.
Mhm.
What if your own pace is faster? What if you've been holding yourself back because you assume that your pace is slower when in fact your pace is faster? Because you're like, oh, I want to go at my own pace. And you're like, well, I don't want to take like 2 weeks to do this. But what if your own pace is 2 days?
Mm.
Like, what if you just stopped having like expectations about what your pace is or isn't? It's like, I'm committing to this.
Mm. Dude, that's a that's a really powerful door you just opened up. I mean, that's an amazing reframe
Committed to
because
this. I'm doing it no matter what.
what's that?
No, I was just repeating the same thing basically.
Yeah, I know, but because what you just highlighted is something that I've actually felt is like, I want people to get out of my way to let me just do what I want. And part of my frustration with things is because like the the friction of having to go through everybody else's system and having to get people on board with doing it my way, and like there's a aspect of doing it myself or doing it the way that I would do it without having to explain myself to anybody um is really fast. I forget the myriad of ways that things can be contextualized. And so if I'm measuring it fast as in like, well, I want to be a millionaire in 3 weeks versus like, 30 years, like, okay, yeah, that's faster, but it's like the real context is like, is following somebody else's system and forcing myself to be someone that I'm not gonna actually be more productive than me just being who I'm meant to be? I don't know. I think there's I think the more I just follow what's right and just trust that, it's going to be a much better experience.
Yeah, because I think like things become so much easier. I think that's one of the beauties of committing. Because when you commit to something fully, all the metrics go out the window. So it's like, hey, I committed to this. If it takes a year or a day, I still have to do it. It's like, hey, I committed to, let's say, making my first $1,000,000. It's like, in my mind, it's like, well, it might take 10 years. Yeah, but it might take 10 days. There's just like, it gives you that freedom of once you commit, you're not like held back by anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, what are you committing to?
think what I'm committing to is I need to be the version of me that I need to unapologetically be the version of me that nobody else can be. And sometimes not even give anybody explanation why I am doing it the way I'm doing it. Not necessarily because that's better, but that's who I need to be. And it's
Yeah, because you don't need to
and
explain, like, why are you doing that? Because it's who I am. Like, you don't need to explain any more than that.
and I think, I mean, in some level, like what we were saying earlier, it's like who you are truly at the core and who you're meant to be, the best version of yourself, is the most valuable thing in the universe. And it might look like money, or it might just look like a life of purpose and fulfillment. Even as your life burns down around your ears, you know that you're doing what you're supposed to. But like being willing to, it can go either way. And I must be me and must stay in this space and centered, whatever way it's going to go. And I think that's that's the surrender. Like that's the release that allows the manifestation to happen, because everything else can get decoupled and destroyed and then reassembled into whatever it needs to. But as long as you're holding on to them, yeah, but I want these elements to like stay here, you just make it that much harder for whatever is meant to happen to happen.
It sounds to me like you just said you're surrendering to yourself, your true self.
And you think you're not a coach.
I don't need to be a coach.
Oh man. Yeah, that's what's happening. I'm finally surrendering to myself.
Remember like a year ago or something when we're like, we want to become the kind of people that other people are going to transform by simply being around us.
Hmm.
Who we are now.
Damn. So, and oh dang, we already were. As soon as we said that, that's who we became.
Yep.
And our friendship has been the slow manifestation process of this becoming maintained as a reality long enough for us to turn around and look back and see, oh, that happened. That's happening. That is what it is. So now all we need to do is just get more volume. The more people we have around us, the more visible that that's going to become. So it all boils back down
Yeah.
to
But at the same time, I don't feel like we need to make that happen.
yeah,
By
it's
just
like
being ourselves and existing, it's automatically going to attract whoever we're meant to. Now, of
yeah.
course, that doesn't mean we shouldn't do anything about business. We're just going to attract it magically. Like business is separate.
No, and I think it's like that's what it is. It's like it's in committing to this is who I am. Well, then that means the person who realizes that they transform other people, it's like, I'm going to put myself in front of people. In fact, I'm going to figure out a way, it might take a while, but I'm going to figure out a way that I can consistently be in front of lots of people. And maybe that means building a multi-million-dollar business. And I mean, it's like whoever that version of who I am, however I understand that to me, it's like, that's what I have to become. That's what I have to do because that's who I am.
Yeah. Plus, like with what we understood today, we're like, all right, we're committing to the version of ourselves that we have now become, because just the mere act of committing to it is becoming it. But it's like, as an example, like rich, like, okay, we want to be rich. We committed to being rich. We became the person who's going to be rich. But in order to keep being that person and not revert, we need to do the work that that person would do. And that means working on the business and building it out, even though the results won't come from our effort. The result will come from us being that version of ourselves.
Right.
It's just like, it's kind of ironic how like being the version of ourselves means doing the work, but we don't want to actually get the results from doing the work.
Oh man. I think that's why it doesn't matter what kind of business you build. It doesn't matter what kind of career you pick. It's like, because if you're the kind of person that's like, I am who I am, I'm just gonna be that relentlessly. It's like, well, I could go be a graffiti artist and like paint walls for decades until somebody's like, holy shit, that's a Banksy, and or it could be, maybe you build $1 million coaching business, or maybe it's like you try at that for 13 years and you say, this is not for me. This is actually isn't who I am. And then you have I don't know, whatever, you go win the lottery or something. I don't, it literally could be anything, but it's like the process of realizing what you're doing isn't what's creating the results. The results come from you are doing who you were meant to be.
Dude, I think I told you about this, but I saw a video a while back of a guy who was in a coma for, I forget how long, let's say like 8 years or whatever.
Mhm.
And he wakes up, and I think on the first day of waking up, he buys a lottery ticket and wins a car. And then while they're like filming a video, like while he's demonstrating in the video, showing like, hey, this is how I bought the ticket, and then I scratched and I won. Like, he won, I think it was $100,000. And that's because during his coma, he became a new version of himself. And when he woke up, the world matched the new version that he became. And it's like, oh, okay, you're someone supposed to have a card who's supposed to be rich. So here's a card and here's some money.
Wow.
So it's like he kept evolving while he was in the coma. And when he woke up, just like the world is like, all right, here's what you would have had you not been in a coma.
Okay, so I have an idea. Instead of creating a vision board where it's all the stuff that I want, what if I create a vision board where it's all the versions of me as I am? So I'm like, what if I go out and buy a lottery ticket? I'm like, I don't need to scratch this off because I am the guy who has $1 million. Like, this just represents that, like, it could come from the lottery. And like, I could write myself a check for $1 million. Like, I'm the guy. It's like the Jim Carrey thing of like,
Yeah.
one day I'm gonna have the money that shows that I'm worth this, but I already know that I'm worth this. It's like, you do that, and you create the version of you that's like, any one of these realities is who I am, but I have this in front of me. It's like, this is what you really are. This is the person that you're. Everything that you do today needs to be a reflection of that's who you are. That's who you're meant to be. And anytime you deviate from being that guy, you're giving that up and you're choosing to bounce back to, like, you just let the environment shape you instead of you being the universe.
I think I just realized something. You know how in the past we like came up with like different business ideas for you or for me or for the both of us, but we never really went through with it. And I'm like, what changed about this one? Why is this one happening? It's because we didn't try to create anything. The business that we're creating is our friendship. We've been building the business without realizing for a year and a half. And it's just like now it's taking shape because we stopped trying to create a business and we just let the friendship evolve into the business.
Mm. Dang.
It's like I think that's why we instinctively like we're like, oh, we're gonna float, and then we end up working on the business. It's like
Mhm.
floating, business, the friendship, it's all the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Okay, give me just a second. Like my brain is breaking trying to process. It's like those lenticular pictures where you turn it from one way, it's like this is one version of the picture, and then you turn another way, it's like a different picture, and you turn another way and it's a different picture. Like what all of this is, like from different angles in the universe, like in different dimensions, like it's just like this is just our friendship. We just are two weirdos who like to talk. But from another dimension, or I mean from another angle in another dimension, this is like a $10 million business. From another dimension, it's like this is just the journey of our lives. Like, oh, they did this and they did this and they did this and they did this. It's like a whole bunch of steps, and it's like took a certain amount of time. And it's like sort of how like when you turn, like I've got this phone, it's a rectangle. It's like, okay, from this angle, it's like a rectangle. From this angle, it's just like a line.
I'm sorry, it's just as you were talking, I'm like, all right, so if the business is our friendship, then what should be like the name of the business? Now just like, all right, we can floating like, yeah, but no. Like, what if we combine our names? So I'm like, hey, yo, no, not really. Giron. Just, I don't know, it made me laugh. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. It was just like so dumb that I'm like, yeah, this is funny. But yeah, I completely agree with you. It's like we can look at this from different perspectives and different realities, and it's a different thing when
Mhm.
in fact it's the exact same thing.
Right.
Like, this is a friendship. No, it's a business. No, it's floating. It's like, yes, it's all three.
Mm.
Oh yeah, also view number 4. This is dumb. Yes, it is.
And this is I love this. This is like the on the level of those, you see people who are like, they seem like such an asshole. Like, why are they successful? Or like, you're like, I cannot believe that that business makes so much money, and it's something stupid like I can't think of anything at the moment. Like Crocs is the best example I can think of. I mean, that's not quite as ridiculous and dumb as
No,
some
you
business
know,
I
you
can
know
think
what
of.
the ridiculous version of Crocs are? I forget what they call them, but like, the Yeezy brand, like,
Hmm.
like what's his name? Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye West.
Kanye West designed like a Croc version of a running shoe that looks horrible, made of foam, and they're selling it for $80. It's way dumber than Crocs because Crocs at least are cheap. This is like overpriced, ugly as hell, probably super crappy. And it's like, yeah, okay, go sell it for $80. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. Yet it sells. I mean, what are they called?
Home runner, goat.
Home runner. They're
Oh
so
man,
ugly.
those are nasty looking.
It's like maybe they're comfortable. I don't know, but it's like foam runners. It's like, is it a running shoe or a sandal? Because I would not run in that. Seems like it would like chafe and you get like huge blisters.
It feels to me like the shoe is actually something else. It's like I feel like that shoe represents something else in a different dimension than it actually is as a shoe.
So it's kind of like it got messed up in the like transition from one universe to the other, and it's like, man, this is ugly. It's like, no, that's what it's supposed to look like. No, it's not. I should not have swallowed my own saliva. But at the same time, from some perspectives, some people are going to look at our product and like, Facebook group in 5 minutes, that's dumb.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Okay. This kind of looks to me like a spaceship. And I wonder if that's not the point.
Wow, I really inhaled that saliva.
Okay, well, the person that I am is like, what I want to do is I want to go back on this specific episode and transcribe like the episode and just look at kind of like the chunk where we're talking about the process of manifestation, because I feel like that is something worth sharing. And I'm not going to make
So-
somebody. Go ahead.
So what you're saying is you're going to do what you've been talking about doing for a year and a half. Because you've always said like, oh man, like there's so much information in here, so valuable, we should really like trim it down. Like you've
Mhm.
been talking about that from pretty much the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, I agree, but
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to do it and I hate editing. So no way I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dang. I could
I think
literally, we
that
could
is the-
literally like not talk again for a year. I could just like go back and have gobs and gobs of content to just post out. And like, if we were just doing the work of like, who is it that I am today? Like, what is it that I could do that makes me more of me? Not that I would want to not talk again for a year, but
But I think this is the proof, like your first real world proof that you've committed to being,
Mm.
I don't know how you want to describe it, but your true self, that's it. Because you're finally doing what you've been talking about doing for a year and a half. It's like you're finally ready. You've committed to yourself.
Mhm. You know what's really interesting?
Not us.
I feel like there's something significant about the fact that like I'm wearing a different shirt than I usually wear.
Oh,
And I feel like this shirt more than my work shirt, which is like a brand. Like I feel like this represents me closer than that.
yeah.
I feel like that shirt represents a brand idea, but it doesn't necessarily truly reflect who I am. And I feel like
You're right. This is way more you than you've ever been.
anyway, it just really interesting that and like yesterday I told Felix like that I was not gonna help with the project anymore. Like
Dude,
I just
this
like
morning you broke up with Felix.
yeah.
Or was it? It's like,
Well, I messaged him last night, but like this morning he sent me back a text just kind of confirming and just we'd had like so yeah. It was like
but I think this goes back to, you know, when we were saying like the universe is providing before we even ask for something. And then when we're ready, we see it and we're like, oh, it's been there all along.
yeah.
Committed to this until now. Yet yesterday, you already took the action of who you are now.
Mm,
Already became that before
damn.
committing to becoming it.
That's like time travel.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But it's, yeah, I think it's interesting that like, because I struggled with it. It was so hard. It was so hard yesterday. Like so much of me wanted to do, well, I can find a way to make this work. I can like, but I was like, I knew when I was writing, I was like, I cannot leave any crack or door open and not let this be a clean break. This has to be, I am 100% owning this. If he gets his feelings hurt or like I come across as a jerk, like I just need this to be done and to free this space up and to be honest, like actually honor like what I think of him as a person or friend by saying like, I can't do this anymore and not string it along and be like, well, like maybe I'm willing to do this or that. Like, and like I finally sent it and I was like, I did like literally everything that I had to do that I needed to do to be able to go through that process. Like I listened to the song that I wrote and had like that guy Dane did the music for it. Like I listened to it because it was literally about this like the smell the sulfur and feel the flames and like do the hard thing basically. But like it was the process of surrender and I was like and then going to bed like having done that action as the last thing that I did before I went to bed, like I think reset the reality. Like, oh, this is who we're gonna be. All right, let's see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that action that allowed you to momentarily become that version of yourself, which is why today you're ready to like surrender to that. You're
Hmm.
committing to that because you've already begun it. You're like, I can feel it. I want to keep feeling like this. I don't want to go back to who I.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's really funny because I was experiencing a little bit of resistance with Randy and the stuff that I'm helping him with. And like one of the people that was helping him, like I was like, at some point I'm gonna need to like reach out and like get to know this person, like go through the difficulty of anyway, long story short, like today I was like, you know what? I don't need to worry about what he's expecting of me or like what I'm expecting of myself. My job is show up. I'm the coach and my job is to just be there and see what do you need. And like I can offer suggestions of this is what I think needs to happen, but like I just need to be present and stop worrying about how it needs to look. And that's what I did. And it was like it was a really, really good, like one of our best calls. And it was like very, I felt like productive. I feel like I know what to do next. But he felt like it was like really helpful. He felt like we are moving forward. And then he told me like, yeah, I'm not working with this other person. Like they just weren't on board. They weren't ready. Like they didn't have the same vision. And he's like, I really like that I'm doing this with you. And this needs to be about love first and not the money. And I'm like, I just like everything that I really am inside is like just came out through that conversation. And like I wasn't trying to create anything or make anything happen. It was just like everything else just seemed to like turn around and reflect back what I really want, who I am.
Man, this is awesome. Funny because like from the outside, when you look at the situations, like I got robbed this morning, now I'm like, this is awesome.
Oh
Oh.
man.
And it's funny too because I've only been robbed ever twice in my life. Last time was when someone stole my bike,
Mhm.
like 2 years ago. And it's like I didn't
I
react.
remember that.
Wait, so it wasn't 2 years ago?
It was well, it was I remember you telling me that your bike got stolen.
Ah,
It might have happened before we met.
yeah, definitely. Because when we met, I was in my new apartment, and that was right before I moved into the new apartment.
Hmm.
Anyway, so it's just like when I walked like along the street and I realized like, oh, my bike is gone. Like I didn't really react. Like I didn't like freak out. I literally just kept walking all the way to the metro station. And it's
Hmm.
like it was like a way of like, yeah, don't make a big deal out of this, but at the same time, it wasn't like it was today. It's more like there's no point in making a big deal out of it. And then like I tried to find meaning on the back end. It's like, well, there's a reason why this happened. So I'm not going to buy another bike. I'm going to wait and see
Mhm.
what's the reason I need to walk. And nothing ever came up. Whereas now this experience is completely different of like, I'm actually grateful for this. And it
Mm.
feels completely different inside. Whereas I think before it was kind of like more denial and what's the point? And now it's like, no, I'm actually grateful for this. I don't know, it's just interesting.
I think this is an episode worth having other people listen to. I mean, for nothing else, I mean, like I got robbed and I'm actually happy about it. Like
And
just
it's funny too, because from other people's perspective, I'm an idiot. It's like, oh, you need to care about stuff like this. Yeah, like you were robbed. Like there's an injustice in this.
mhm,
Like you're just suppressing your feeling. You're just like pretending like everything's okay when it's not. It's like, no, I'm really not. Like I'm really grateful for this.
mhm.
It's funny how like for most people from their perspective, it's like, yeah, okay, you're just lying to yourself. And for a long, like for a period, I thought they were right. It was like, I don't know if I told you about it. I forget exactly when that happened. When I went through the whole like perfectly hidden depression thing, where it's like, have I been secretly depressed this whole time and just kind of like lying to myself? And it's like,
Mhm.
maybe there was a little of that, but overall, it's just like, no, I'm content with who I am,
Mhm.
and like still growing and evolving, but I don't care what anybody thinks or anybody says or does, or like they can judge me all they want. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it because like, nowadays a lot of people are depressed and like, my best physical friend from back home, it's like he's always kind of had a bit of like, depression in the background, but nothing
Mhm.
really
Oh,
serious.
give me just a second.
Yep.
Hello? Are you still nearby? Yeah, if you don't mind swinging back by and picking me up after you're done. Bye.
Well, come on. Isn't your new self gonna run home?
I could. I just have a whole bunch of stuff. I guess I could leave it here.
I'm just messing with you.
Well, I mean, I'm not afraid of committing to things and then failing anymore. So I'm gonna say it. I think one of the things I want to allocate some bandwidth to at some point, um, I'd like to officially, like, whatever that means. um, and it may just happen anyway because of our friendship, but like, I want to train for an ultra marathon. And part of how I think I can do it is like, if I get to the point where this is like the 80-20 things, like this is a big part of my business and the work. Like I can walk for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day or run that long on a call until I get to the point where I have the stamina where it's like I can just go for 6 hours and that's what I do. But
When you say ultra marathon, is there like a specific length? Because anything beyond the length of a normal marathon is considered an ultra marathon.
mhm,
There's specific length.
I don't have a specific length. Um, but uh, what I do know and what I do know for sure is I want to run an ultra marathon and I want to do it with you at some point. Like
Hey,
that's
I'm
really the
in.
only reason
Whenever
why.
you want, let's do it.
And if that means like
This is a
some
no-brainer.
point in some point in my life, like I make space to be able to walk or run for like long periods of time to like build up to that. Or I'm like, let me do the lean and mean like yo method of like, let me just do a little bit so I'm not like completely out of shape, but just go for it. I don't know. Whatever that looks like, but I guess I'm putting that out there because it's been something I've been afraid to like actually articulate and put a pin on it. But I did that same thing earlier today. It's like I hadn't said that out loud, that what I really actually want, the real life reality that I want is like, I'd love to take your book series. It wouldn't have to be your book series, but something that I care about like that, and build an audio production out with a community of people who are also hardcore fans of it, and
I
then see how far we can take it. Can we go all the way to creating something that the public at large enjoys because we believed in it so much? I don't know.
I have a suggestion for you. Because
Go for it.
as an example, like you're like, I want to do this one day. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's one way of saying it, but why not just say, I will run an ultra marathon one day? You don't need to decide a date. You don't need to decide a length, but just deciding, I'm going to do this one day. That makes it more real than I want to do this someday.
All right, so I'm going to commit to doing an
think you're
ultra marathon.
I think you're side skirting. You're like, I'm going to commit. That's not the same as I'm going to run an ultra marathon. It's different.
Well, I wasn't finished. I'm trying to.
Just kind of being a dick, but I'm like, I feel I kind of need to poke you. It's like, nope, try again.
All right. So I will go on an ultra marathon with you.
Not the same. You can go on an ultra marathon and bike alongside me or be in the car alongside me.
Run an ultra marathon?
I mean, it's up to you. I don't know if
Is
you want
that
to run or walk. Like walking is good too, but it's like I think there's a lot of power in being clear of like, I will run
yeah?
a kilometer ultra marathon with you one. Like that
Well,
level
I
of
mean, I've
activity makes it like real. Like it doesn't have to be that specific, but it's just like, okay, I'm committing to this. It's clear in my head.
Well, I feel like I'm at the point where like I've run 4 miles and be like, oh, that wasn't too bad. Like that, that's I'm surprised that the guy that I am like doesn't struggle at that. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh man, if I did that 10 times, that's an ultra marathon. That's over 30 miles.
Yeah.
So it's like I could I could literally like do that over and over. Like if I did that 4 mile run 2 or 3 times a week, it's like I would have done an ultra marathon, not in the same day, but like with it, and just keep shrinking the gaps in between when I'm doing stuff. So
And like to come back to what you were saying before about like going at your pace,
mhm.
I looked back because I re-downloaded the tracking app for tomorrow, and I looked back at my previous workouts and my first run between like that first run and that ultra marathon. The
Mhm.
ultra marathon was my 35th run.
Wow,
So it's like, okay, we really don't need to train as much as we think we do.
dang. It would be interesting to know like what the optimal rest period is, but dang, it seems like you could probably do that within a couple of months, 2, 3 months. You'd go from
Yeah.
0 to ultra marathon in like less than a quarter of a year.
That's exactly what I did. It was a little under 3 months between the moment that I first started running and the moment that I ran the ultra marathon.
Dang.
And the thing is, like, if you just want to complete the ultra marathon and running it isn't important, we can
Mhm.
literally walk the entire way. And I'm
Mhm.
going to prove whether that's possible tomorrow. Because, like, if I can walk 100 kilometers in a day without having, no, actually, the only exercise I've done in the last year has been the run that I did last week.
Mhm.
That was my only training. So if I can pull this off, like, we can literally do anything.
I believe, like, I don't even know what I believe anymore. Maybe I should just do stuff instead of finding out whether I believe it.
I think
Um,
that's a really good way to do things. It's like, could I do this? It's like, no, I'm going to do it. And then I'll discover, oh, I could or I couldn't do it.
oh dang, that's so that's so much more powerful. It's like, what if you just believe reality? Like, what if you just do what is actually possible? And you might find out that what is possible is actually way better than what you would have thought or believed. But like, what if you stop believing in anything and you just start being what is available?
Hmm. All right. So anyway, I love this conversation. However, I can't help but notice you still haven't technically fully committed.
All right, I don't remember the criteria of what you
I mean, it doesn't matter
considered
what
a
my criteria
commitment.
is. All I mean is like commit fully. Like there's no ambiguity. Like what do you want to commit to?
I am the guy who's going to run an ultra marathon with you. I'm going to be the first guy that runs an ultra marathon with you.
Nice. I like it. Crap, that means I need to run another ultra marathon. All
Anyway,
right. I like how I like I always wanted to run a marathon just because like it seemed like something cool, but ultra
mhm,
marathons like I never really cared about.
mhm.
And it's like, okay, I I already ran one. I'm committing to walking one, and I just committed to running one with you at some point in the future. So it's like I never cared about ultra marathons, and I'm already like doing them consistently.
It's so weird. Like, and I don't know what it is about it. It's got to be that it's so much harder that like you have to, you know that you have to commit to it. Because if I had committed to like doing like a regular marathon, it feels like I'm selling myself short somehow. I don't know
Yeah.
why. And even if it's like, a mile more than a regular marathon, like I wouldn't feel like I cheated myself of having the ultra marathon experience. But it's like if I just set my bar at just run a marathon, which is what everybody does, I think there's some level of me somewhere that's like, I know that what everybody believes is possible is just like the just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh shit! I just realized once we hang up, next time we'll speak, I'll have walked 100 kilometers in a day.
dang.
Oh shit!
Okay, so that means we're not going to talk tomorrow. I am going to tomorrow by the end of the day. I will have an offer for 5-minute Facebook groups, and I will have posted it in every group that allows self-promotion that I have, that I know of, that I will be able to do tomorrow. And then just tomorrow will start like, start the clock, like, okay, where can I do every single day for a week? And I think I can get to 100 groups in a week.
Wait, why in a week? Like, are you already members of the groups?
No, I haven't been,
Okay.
I haven't joined all of them. But it's like, I
think-
know I have a spreadsheet of 100 groups that allow self-promotion. I mean, but
Because I was
I
just
could,
thinking, like, if you're already like a member, it's like, what if you took a challenge? It's like, all right, I'm gonna walk 100 kilometers. You're gonna like post or promote yourself in 100 groups.
Mhm.
Let's both have that challenge in the day, and then at the end of the day, we'll just kind of like, well, the day after, we could get together and be like, so how many did you do? And it's like, I for some reason I get the impression that if we did that, like, universe would just be like, all right, I ended up walking 96 and I just crumbled after that. And it's like,
Mhm.
you did 96 groups and after that you just ran out. Like, it probably won't work because you weren't able to
Mhm.
join the group. But I'm just like, I feel like if we would have been able to do that, it
Mhm.
would have like blown our minds.
Yeah, dang. Okay, well, I don't know what's possible. I'm gonna do what is available tomorrow. Instead of believing or deciding, I'm gonna be, what I am gonna commit to is I'm gonna be the best version of myself 100% all day tomorrow. And I think what that means is I can have an offer and post it in as many groups as possible. Maybe that's gonna be more than like the handful that I thought I was gonna do. Maybe I can go out and find new groups on my own that aren't on that spreadsheet. Because not all of them allow promotion like every day. It's like certain threads, certain days. So it's all staggered and stuff. But like, I'm gonna just see how far I can go. And who knows?
Oh man, hearing you say that got me to shift my mindset again. And I literally just had the thought occur to me of like, what if I am able to walk 100 kilometers in under 24 hours? What if I decide to keep walking after that? Like,
Dang.
before, the thought didn't even occur to me. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it. Now I'm like, what if I hit it? What will happen after?
Dang.
Like, I have no idea and I have no like expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just removed a limitation that I didn't realize that I set on myself.
Wow.
Well, I guess we'll talk not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, and hopefully it won't be the end of the world.
Sounds good. Love you, man. This has
Love you.
been absolutely amazing.
Thank you for allowing me to witness your transformation.
Hmm.
And I was going to say I'm looking forward to running an ultra marathon with you, but truth is I'm not. But I kind of like that kind of like yes and no thing.
Well, it
So
looks like
yeah.
my ride's here, so gotta go.
All right. Perfect
All
timing.
right.
Okay.
Look, you here? Okay.